Hello again, everyone. Welcome to the Rome Floyd Chamber Show. We are broadcasting from the Hardy Realty Studios in downtown Rome, Georgia on beautiful Broad Street. I'm Roger Manus with Rome Business Radio.
Hello, everyone. My name is Pam Powers-Smith from the Rome Floyd Chamber of Commerce.
Hey, Pam.
There's usually a button you push.
You want?
Thank you.
There we go. Nice. There you go, Pam.
And I'm so excited, the guest we have today. I think it was impossible almost to get on the calendar for all three of us, but we are happy to be joined by Jamie McCord and Sammy Rich today.
Hi there. Hi, guys. How are we?
Doing good. Glad to be here. Beautiful day, and just excited to be here.
This is like the brain trust.
Yes, we get that a lot. That's obvious.
High demand.
I do feel, I'm a little remorse. I didn't get walk-up music like Pam got the applause, and so we came ill-prepared, obviously.
There we go.
Rock on. Here we go.
What do you want?
There's any number of appropriate songs I could come up with.
There we go.
That one we hear the most. That's right.
I got all kinds of stuff. I feel like this is perhaps historic. You mentioned you're trying to get your schedules in sync. I feel like for you guys to be in the same room at the same time, it's kind of like, you don't see the Beatles in public together too often, or the Spice Girls or ABBA, public, two of you in the same place at the same time. Am I mistaken? Do y'all actually cross paths a lot? Because we're talking about county management and city management. I know you work together,
yes.
But are you ever together?
Oh, yes.
We are actually.
Yeah, quite often.
Probably third time this week. So.
Okay. So just big, broad picture for folks like me who may not understand those. That's a big, all-encompassing term, managing counties and cities. What do you do for a living?
Wow.
Go ahead.
It's such an easy question, Roger. Thank you for this. So I often describe I'm the self-described cat herder, and so you pretty much do all duties as assigned. And so what's interesting about Jamie and I is we've got a unique story that we've both worked in both organizations, and so that's unique. That I was at the county, Jamie was at the city, and so we kind of have some unique insight. But generally speaking, and for the audience and for folks who are like, what does a city or county manager do? And what we have in common is the form of government that we each have. And that's where you've got elected officials. And so county's case, Jamie's got 5 county commissioners. I have 9 city commissioners, and we both have what's called a strong manager form of government, to where we are hired based on, I'm using quotes here, we're based on qualifications, and we are really the day-to-day operators or the CEOs that run the business of our governments collectively. And so we work, I've got 9 bosses. Jamie has 5 bosses. And so it's just that easy. I mean, any other questions?
I have 18 bosses. I just want to throw that in there.
I have 5 bosses and 99,000 supervisors.
No, I like that. Yes.
Well, I feel like I just attended a political science class.
Yes, you're welcome.
So what is the population of the county?
It's roughly 99,000. We were just under. I would probably argue that number is not accurate. I think it's a little higher, but did finally see a little growth in this census, a little more than normal, and I expect more down the road with everything going on currently.
And what's the population of the city?
So roughly 38,000.
Roughly.
Yeah. Well, again, give or take. And, it's the unique thing about Rome, and we talk about this a lot, is we is an employment hub and really the hub of Northwest Georgia. We're still the largest city in Northwest Georgia. So more people come in to work here each day. And so we literally do grow population during the day because it's folks show up here to go to work. So about 20,000 people actually commute into the city every day to work.
So we're talking about when you oversee what the city does, we're talking Parks and Rec, we're talking sewage, we're talking, all of those things. But what is your relationship like with the chamber and the importance of that in doing what you guys do on a daily basis? That's Pam
I would just like to say, I just call them and ask crazy questions all the time is the relationship. And they kindly answer them.
That sounds pretty accurate. Yeah.
Not totally crazy, but the biggest role that I see is existing industries, and we are very organized, been well established for years. Pam has carried that torch on and continued it. Very organized, great group to develop the existing industries as part of our development authority as well. By the president of GRIA is attached by charter to our development authority. So they have a big role in some of the decisions that are made and expansions and new industry and whatnot. So
GRIA. I've forgotten the acronym.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Greater Rome Existing Industries Association.
Yes.
Yes.
We'll put you to sleep with acronyms. Remind us because
Alphabet soup.
Well, what goes on, like there's city, there's county. We talked about you working together. What constantly crosses paths where y'all are having to work together? Like the school systems are
they're separate
and distinct. But what does cross paths?
Well, we've got 31 joint agreements. We're probably,
and that's more than anybody else in the state,
that's
correct?
more. I don't have
We
the
think
exact
so.
numbers in front of me, but I think Lowndes, Valdosta had 15 or 16, somewhere in that range. But yeah, large number. We have joint departments, and then we have county-wide departments. So take, for example, a joint department would be fire.
Okay.
It's great. It ain't broken. It doesn't need to be fixed. We got a low ISO rating, which is an insurance standard rating that gives us, at least in most cases, favorable insurance rates. Whereas a lot of counties in Northwest Georgia still have volunteer. We're fully paid, fully staffed, 10 stations, and that's a 50-50 joint. It's managed by the city, but we have a joint oversight committee that manages fire overview, and it's great. So that's a good example of a joint, city managed but joint. Then another joint would be recycling. It is a joint operation managed by Solid Waste Commission, but managed by the county. So there's a little give and take on the day-to-day management, but that's two, I guess, simple examples. And then you've got, like, say, animal control that is a county-wide function. So there's some differences in, things. Sammy, for the most part, doesn't get outside of the city. Is that fair? Some things
Right.
with sewer and water
Right.
do, and you might want to expand on that a little bit.
Well, and the other, we often pride ourselves on these agreements because we do spend a lot of time working together. And honestly, when we host outside communities, they're often surprised by the amount of cooperation because, let's face it, there's a lot of places where you got cities and counties suing each other. They don't even get in the same room together. And so,
And here you guys are doing a podcast together.
And who knew we were going to make it this far to a podcast? But our building inspection, planning, zoning, all that's a joint effort to where we provide service on a countywide level. And so, if you're an outsider and you show up to the community, hey, I want to build this or build that, it's this idea of a one-stop shop. So we try to really make it easy for you, the consumer, to come here and be successful.
Well, it is interesting because it flows off my tongue. Rome Floyd Chamber. Rome Floyd kind of becomes hyphenated in a lot of ways, but you don't hear that in other places. And is a lot of that because of the synergy between the county and city management working together and
I think so. Honestly, we don't have any secrets because he's sat in my shoes and I've sat in his shoes, so to speak. But there's not a lot of secrets. But yeah, I think so. And I've got my previous employer was Georgia DOT back many moons ago, and I remember you couldn't get, like Sammy just said, you couldn't get a city and a county in the same room together to talk about two separate projects that they might be involved in, much less agree to work together. But it saves taxpayer headaches and time and money to work together.
what's on what are the constant battles or the constant headaches, downtown parking or just,
never. I've not experienced any challenges in that area.
but what's always a thorn in the side we're working through forever.
Never goes away.
No, well, in our business, and I'll give you a good example, is transportation.
Okay.
There is never enough money to fund transportation. And that's and that's not unique to Rome Floyd. I think if you look anywhere in the country, you're going to hear folks, you're going to hear communities talk about crumbling infrastructure. And part of that is just, it's so darn expensive.
I'm sorry, when you say transportation, are you talking bus system or are you talking roads and bridges?
I'm talking just good old fashioned roads. And I'm talking about, hey, I just ran through a pothole. Those kind of conversations, and we deal with a lot of that. One of the unique things about Rome is we're a river city.
A lot of bridges,
Lots of bridges,
But not enough.
and
Not enough bridges.
And bridges are expensive.
They
right?
are, and they're expensive to maintain. Part of we've got an extensive state route system here, so that's one of those double-edged swords. It's great as a community that we have state routes. However, when I get a call about, hey, when are y'all going to do something about fill in the blank? And it's like, well, that's a state route. We're not, I'll give you Shorter Avenue as an example. When are y'all going to pave Shorter? Well, we don't technically, as a city, we're not going to pave that, but our friends at Georgia DOT, it's on their paving schedule. And so we, as the locals, and we have what's called a Metropolitan Planning Organization, the MPO, and that's one of the unique things about our local community. But we work hand in hand with both Georgia DOT and then the federal highway. And so we get a direct seat at the table and able to direct a lot of the communication and conversation about our transportation needs. But even then, there's never enough money to stay ahead of transportation. And so that's something that we're always going to be working on. We're always going to be looking to try to get some improvement there.
Same here. It's funny this is coming up because I spent multiple hours in the last 2 weeks on 2 state and federal issues that I cannot help anyone with other than say, here's the number and here's who you call. It's a driveway issue on 27 and a sidewalk issue on Shorter Avenue, which is coincidentally State Route 20. Right. State routes it's just, you got county roads, city streets, state routes, federal highways. We don't have interstates, but we do have federal highways with 411, 27. Is there one more? I think that's it. So yeah, the area of like 27 south going towards Cedartown is US 411, US 27, State Route 1, and we call it Cedartown Highway.
Right. All right.
Just figuring out which Avenue D to go to in this town is difficult when there's 4 Avenue Ds. That's very important when you call 911. I'm on Avenue D and I have X, Y, or Z. Which Avenue D? So
I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah.
Details matter.
Little details and that matters. That's another countywide service.
Well, but the person who just doesn't realize the federal city, they just call because of this. And
of course.
Yeah. So you're walking down the street and you get stopped by somebody. What's the common, hey, you fix parking tickets, which is what I asked you.
That's a pretty common. Today's call, wasn't an in-person. It was, hey, there's a toilet bowl sitting out at XYZ address. It's been there over a week. Can we make sure somebody from solid waste goes to pick that up? So that's a pretty normal kind of call. Think it's important to have your garbage picked up. I've found that citizens expect that and they like it to be timely.
But a shout out to the city. I'll shout out to the county later. Shout out to the city. They have a fabulous app that you can download on your phone.
Well, thank you, Pam.
Yes, I use it a lot.
What's the name of this app? Is it the My Rome app?
It is. It's called the My Rome app. And you don't have to call Sammy. You can use the app to put in your request.
Thank you for that plug because I tell folks this all the time. And again, not everybody wants to use apps, but we are in a app world. It is absolutely the fastest way to get a work order entered into the system and get it completed is to actually put it in the My Rome because the folks that are doing the dispatch are the ones receiving those work orders. And so you really do bypass a lot of phone calls and extra traffic by using the app. And so we encourage everybody to use it, anything from potholes to street light outage to you name it.
Oh, that's what I was going to ask. What are some of the specific things that are on there?
Yeah. A legal dump on the side of a street somewhere. It's just any kind of random. And then we have city staff that go in and actually sort and whether it's a state issue or a county issue or a Georgia Power issue, those all get referred out to the appropriate place.
Never thought about that.
Yeah.
Is the county in the app business yet?
We are not in the app business. We have updated our website about a year ago, and we are using the website more. We don't have the app yet. We're talking about it. We just haven't quite got there yet. But again, we get this. There's a pothole on whatever drive, and they got to tell us. When all we're going to do is pick up the phone and call Public Works or Street Department or whoever, it's not going to be fixed any better because we got it, or just because they live in Sammy's neighborhood or they went to school with me or whatever. That's the thing. I know him. He'll call and we'll get this done. It may take a week for me to call you back, whereas the app or the website will probably.
But what if I bring you cupcakes? Will that move me to the top of the line? I'm just curious.
It'll probably help, Pam. That never happens. Never happens. That's a great gesture.
Yeah.
How does one get to be in your jobs? What are your backgrounds?
Great question.
Just lucky, I guess.
Yeah, I did not graduate from high school or college and say, man, that's the job I want to be. It didn't happen. I evolved, civil engineer by trade.
Born and raised where?
Well, born in Cherokee, Alabama,
okay.
But I have been here almost 50 years. So I moved from Cherokee Center in 1974 And been here. I went to Midway School, Pepperell High School, University of Alabama, Southern Poly, and then Berry later for postgraduate. So I started in engineering with GDOT. Came to the city of Rome in '98 as the street department director and the assistant public works director. Eventually became public works director, and then county reached out. I've been here 10 years now, and that's we're both above the national average, so that means something is good. National average is 6 years. So
before you people walk away from it,
or you're just replaced by the new board,
thrown away.
Yeah, thrown away, recycled. We don't want to throw it away. But anyway, yeah, I didn't grow up wanting to do this, but you just kind of build like a block. You know, it's kind of like a erector set. You get this skill, you get that skill, and it just kind of builds. But yeah, I don't know that there's a big trend in county management at the moment of attorneys being county managers. Engineers are a little odd, but a lot of county managers and city managers are former attorneys.
Maybe there's a pattern and convenience.
Or double dipping.
Or that goes back to Sammy's point of some cities and counties suing each other.
Yes.
Yeah, you're gonna get 2 for 1.
Do it all.
That's literally it. 2 for 1.
Save some money that way.
And Sammy, what is your background?
So I got to Rome in 2002, and so
Born and raised where?
I grew up in Chatsworth. So my family's north of here, Chatsworth and Dalton. Went to West Georgia down in Carrollton. So moved off to school. And originally, like Jamie, I didn't grow up thinking about city management because that was a foreign concept. But I actually, one of my early, I was sort of torn between economic development and landscape architecture. And so my original intent was to be a landscape architect. And in thinking along that pathway, I was introduced to land use planning. And so I ended up becoming a land use planner. And so like Jamie, also spent some time with Georgia DOT and was a county planner down in Carroll County. But I actually moved to Rome to be the assistant Floyd County manager. And so came here to be the assistant county manager and fell in love with Rome Floyd, just a beautiful community. And then 2006, I moved down the street to become assistant city manager. So same problems, same people, different office.
Right.
And then different block. John Bennett, our city manager, who I love. John was a great mentor the whole time I've been in this community. John was city manager here for 30 years, which is really unprecedented. And so I had the good fortune to become city manager back in 2014. And so that's, so I have a land use background and then a master of public administration. And so it's, again, on any given day, you're working on any number of topics. And so you got to know just a little bit about everything in this line of work. It's kind of how I often describe it.
So y'all are never bored. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Never.
So when you're overseeing things, are the various departmental budgets determined by your bosses and then you implement, or do you manage that on a daily basis? Okay, I'm going to rob Peter here to pay Paul.
Well, and I'll start with that. Let me clarify one thing too. A little bit difference between city and county. We have other elected officials besides commissioners. We have Superior Court judges, magistrate court, juvenile court, DA, clerk of court, coroner. In our community, we have our juvenile court judges elected. So I'm kind of in the middle. Sammy's near the top under the commission. I'm kind of in the middle. I've got my board, and then I've got these elected officials that we have to work with. So they submit their proposed budgets annually to the Board of Commissioners. Then I spend about 2.5, 3 months working on trying to find the combinations of what we should do, what we shouldn't do, what gets cut. And the elected officials have the opportunity to have a budget here. And if they, I don't control their budget. I rarely change anything they ask for, especially without talking to them. But just go through the process in the fall of the year. We try to approve the budget before the end of the year. It can go into January, but in the last 5 or 6, we've gotten it done near the end of the year. And then from that point forward, we manage throughout the year, unless there's things that come up. Now, I have parameters that I can work under. I have limits that I can do administratively.
Yeah, because I would think you need some flexibility.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, they're kind of debating right now the ability to approve some SPLOST purchases. We have a purchasing rule that all SPLOST purchases have to go to the Board of Commissioners, and we approved like a $400 SPLOST purchase a couple of weeks ago, and they're like, "Why are we doing this?" Well, your policy says it, so we're following the policy. But anyway, that's an odd example. It doesn't happen a lot, but I like the I like the flexibility I have, and I like the limit I have. I don't want to be too far out there on the limb. And I'm totally fine with that scrutiny and that level of supervision.
Sammy?
No, very, very similar situation. And I would say probably the most important task of an elected body or for commissions is to adopt the budgets, because we're mandated by law. We have to have a balanced budget. And so we operate under those confines. We both are similar.
What a great idea.
Yeah. And so, right. And within the budget confines, and it takes a lot to go and create the budget process. We kick off the budget process in the fall, and we're on a similar track that we operate on calendar year. Our fiscal year is a calendar year. So by the end of the year, we'll have our budgets adopted. And so there's several funds within. And so it's a large, complex operation. A lot of folks probably don't think about city and county government, but as far as the number of employees, the complexity, having human resources, having, from our perspective, we've got folks on the back of a garbage truck. We've got folks wearing white lab coats, doing water and sewer and water testing. So it's really quite a range of different types of employees that find work in what we do.
How many city employees are there?
I'm going to go roughly 650.
Okay. And how many county employees are there?
About a month ago, we were at 770. So we're just a little tick larger. We're very close, though. It probably averages 700 plus or minus, but we filled a lot of positions in the last 12 months that have been vacant for several years. So that's a good thing.
Does that include law enforcement?
That does include law enforcement.
Yeah. Okay. So everything's kind of under your oversight, just management wise.
Correct. So in my case, Jamie pointed out the constitutional officers, and again, we as a city, our city commission, again, we got 9 city commissioners. Each January, the commission decides who's going to be mayor. And they hired the city manager to run the day-to-day. So all city employees work under the city manager. And so that's our system. And so it's up to, they adopt the budgets, they set the policies, and it's my job to get it done. And, and again, why have this form of government? It's because, theoretically, we have studied, we understand laws, and our goal is to get it done and to do it efficiently. Because again, nobody wants to pay more tax dollars, us included. And so if we're looking to keep us out of trouble, keep us from getting sued, keep us from frivolous lawsuits, and find the most efficient, most professional way to deliver service. And so my personal philosophy has always been good strategic public investment will attract good private investment. So I think if we're doing something right, we're going to create a very thriving community where folks want to come and they want to live here because it's a good place. It's got a sense of place, and it's somewhere people are willing to come invest their private dollars.
Good answer. All right, so you're dealing with this stuff daily, monthly, yearly with budgets and commissioners and all that. What's coming down the road 5-10 years? Do you look long term? What's roads, bridges, school? What's coming down the road that y'all are always having to think about?
Well, I think that's what we're supposed to do is look 5, 10, 15 years ahead. Obviously, you got to deal with that pothole that got caught in this morning. But the bigger picture is looking ahead, and everybody sees the growth. It's coming to Georgia. It's already came to Bartow County, and it's coming to Floyd County and Rome. It's here. So we got to prepare ourselves, and transportation is a big part of it. Of course, we've done a lot of things, a lot of little things, like the 411, it got built in the 70s. So, that was forward thinking and making sure that corridor and the connection to 41 prior to the interstate. Now, we missed on that little next leg to 75 for the last 30 plus years, but we do have that in the system now, and we are getting that exit or hanging that shingle on the side of it 75 where you can get to Rome and Floyd quickly. And so you've got to plan for that. We're talking about our redoing some of our land development codes and maybe doing a new adoption of a new map and some different zones and a lot of different things. So that's really what we should be doing on a daily basis, is looking at least 5 to 10 years out.
That would tie in with the Chamber's mission of business growth and attracting business, but because you don't think you talked about roads, that means we need more housing.
Yes.
And houses need roads, and houses need their trash picked up.
And
water, sewer, schools.
It's a lot.
And we communicate. I know, obviously, Sammy communicates with City Commission. We communicate with county or the school board, cities and county school boards. We had public safety this morning, and their director of security is part of our public safety team, where we're all communicating with each other. City Fire was there; they had their annual or monthly report. So we do a good job of communicating and making sure we know what's going on and looking down the road to what's needed.
Did you guys ever watch the old sitcom Parks and Rec?
I did.
With Rob Lowe as the city manager?
Yes.
And what did you think of his job? How he handled? How he played the?
Well, he's better looking than both of us, for sure.
Nobody's arguing with that.
We have the perfect, or at least I do, perfect face for radio. So
I just wonder how they were able to get into our lives so clearly for their script writing.
Well, that's right.
Was it a good reflection?
Yeah,
it's a very funny show.
Never understood.
Yeah, a little sarcastic, but not too far off in some. We have those characters do work for us in different
We can't
places.
identify characters. That's a great point.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So we talked about 5-10 years down the road. What else besides the transportation? Are there even bigger projects than that?
Well, sure. I think we'd be remiss if we didn't spend a little bit of time focused on housing, just to the point that we have wrestled with housing as a community for the last couple of years. We went so far as, even as a city, as appointing a housing committee. And so we held a housing summit. We partnered with the Development Authority. We actually had our partners with Georgia Power, who spent some time in sending expertise our way. And in the housing conversation, it really centered around what can we do as a community to become a little more open and or amenable to different types of housing. And so because of that conversation, we started seeing folks from out of town knock on the door and saying, hey, I'm from such and such community. We hear you guys want to grow. We hear you're interested in housing. And so as a result of that, we've got something on the order of, 4,000 residential units that are in some form of the pipeline of being conceptually thought about. And so that's something that we as Rome have really not seen probably since the days that GE would have been a new industry here. And so, as Jamie mentioned, you don't have to, drive far out 411. You're going to see what's going on, what's coming. When a company lands in a community and they're going to hire that many thousands of jobs, it's going to impact us.
Yeah.
There's just no chance it's not.
Yeah.
Not like or unlike the hospitals. People come in of that 20,000, educational facilities, hospitals, and other industry. They're clearly coming in from a regional draw. They're not obviously everybody that works at Atrium and Advent do not live in Floyd County. We wish they did, but
Yes, we
people
do.
drive in, and we'll have people live in Floyd County that will work on that 411 corridor in Bartow County. No doubt.
Yeah. And healthcare is obviously such a big thing here that's much bigger than other towns of similar size in the
Tremendous.
state.
We're blessed.
Yeah.
Tremendous
Have
healthcare.
options.
Well, it's funny. I can remember my dad talking about years and years ago when they were going to extend I-75, and they were kind of, were they going to run it by Rome or run it by Dalton? And it ended up going by Dalton to get up to Chattanooga. But in a way, it's kind of kept Rome kind of in its own bubble of protecting the small town. And
Absolutely.
but you talk about the connectivity to 75, and 411 takes you to Cartersville, and you got to navigate through that.
Little zigzag.
Or you can take 140.
It's perfect. And I say perfect, it's almost complete. It's been the project that will never end.
Yeah,
Eventually.
they're going to expand 140 forever.
Yes.
Eventually.
But it connects, Armurchie. But was there another connectivity down the road that you were talking about?
Well, you mentioned Armurchie. The next phase of the 140 widening will go all the way to 27. And coincidentally, that's Chattooga County's #1 project, and it's in Floyd County because that's how they get to I-75. So just like our connector from 41 to 75 is in Bartow County. So that shows the regional support you need. And finally, Bartow's kind of taken a position of, you know what? They need this. We need this. It's actually going to help create a somewhat of a bypass around Cartersville, because if anybody has been on 41 at 5 o'clock in Cartersville, it's horrible.
Yeah.
It's busy.
So do y'all, in your roles, as the region grows, do you deal with your counterparts in the various adjoining counties and towns?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I meet about quarterly with surrounding county managers, and sometimes it's just lunch and say, man, you can't believe what I'm dealing with. But sometimes it's
therapy session.
Right. It's a therapy session where nobody's recording anything and you can just say whatever you want to say.
But the people in the room understand it.
Absolutely.
It's called commiseration.
That's right. We have lots of that, I'm afraid.
But it is, connectivity to Polk, Bartow, Gordon. We touch Walker County, believe it or not.
Right.
At the northern tip of Floyd County, there's a Floyd-Walker County line, if you can believe that. It doesn't think that line is north of Somerville and still in Floyd County. So our county is huge. Everett Springs to Cave Springs, about a 50-minute trip with no traffic.
A lot of geography here.
Yeah.
It is. It really is.
And again,
I didn't know there was going to be a test.
Yeah. Some of it is you can't kind of get there from here. You got to go somewhere else to get there.
Right.
And you sometimes got to go north to go south because of the bridges.
Maybe a helicopter in cases would be best.
But that's what makes us unique. I mean,
Absolutely.
it is a diverse county. It really is, from top to bottom, and back to the two cities. That's probably another reason we do so many things joint. We have 2 incorporated cities in Floyd County. A lot of counties will have 10, 12 cities.
Oh, yes.
Like Cobb, and that's
Gwinnett.
Not the best example, but even Jackson County, our friend Kevin Poe that we both worked with over the years is up in Jackson. He's got like 6 or 7 incorporated cities. We've got big city Rome and small city Cave Spring, but it makes it, we know each other. We got to get along.
Yeah. I don't think that everybody might have known Cave Spring was incorporated.
Yes.
I did know that because I was aware there was going to be a test.
Right.
Yes,
there you go.
Very good. And they're actually moving to hire a city manager. So they are.
I saw that actually.
Yeah, kind of. So maybe the next time we're here, we'll have the Cave Spring manager
There
join
you go.
us.
We got another seat.
That's
Perfect.
right.
So you both have been around a while in your job. You said past the national average.
Yes.
I don't mean to,
No, it's a good thing.
It's a good problem.
But sometimes it may not be a good thing.
But what have been the most positive changes in your administration, for lack of a better word, your tenure? If I say administration, it makes it sound like you're the president. But during your tenure, what are you most proud of on your watch that you were able to maybe guide through, push through slowly but surely? Or it may be daily potholes, but it.
Well, mine's probably been personnel and the ability. I think we're not quite there, but I think the board has refocused pay equity. We were really low when I first got here across the scale compared to other communities, and they've put a lot of effort into saying, "Hey, let's get this fixed. Let's get public safety competitive. And that includes fire." We jointly did some improvements in the fire department. We were carrying public safety with. We have a prison, sheriff's office, and police department, and even I can include 911 and 911 dispatchers in that because they truly are the first responders.
Definitely.
They're not the first people on the scene, but they're the reason the people on the scene show up.
Right.
To the right Avenue D. So that I think pay and supporting public safety, because, we've been through some crazy times on a federal level and the national scene. And I'm proud of that. I'm also really proud of our animal shelter. I'll just pick that one project because it was the original shelter was probably too small when it was built, but it was certainly too small for the 2013 times that we were dealing with. And it's not perfect in that world, but we're staying in the 90% live outcome range on that, meaning we were euthanizing prior to our new shelter probably 40-50%. And that's not really what you want. Now, again, the county doesn't own these animals, and the county's not breeding animals. These are the public that are not spaying and neuter, not the county.
So you're saying it's a community issue?
It's a community issue, but the county gets the credit and or blame when things go wrong.
All the glory. All the glory.
What about you, Sammy? But maybe some of the positives over the past.
There's tons of projects, and it's hard to pick a favorite project. Well, I will tell you this: what's been cool about being here for a while is to be able to have had projects that we've gathered around the table looking at sketches, and just kind of dreaming ahead. And that's one of the beauties. If you get to stay in these jobs long enough, you do get to go from seeing something on paper to seeing it in person. And, like the Town Green, for example, the Forum Civic Center opened back in 1994, no hotel, had 86 surface parking spaces outside. And to sort of reimagine that area now with a new heart of downtown with the Town Green, a parking deck, a pedestrian bridge over to what I will, argue is really going to be what's going to change the most about downtown is our River Arts District. That's what's underway.
Yeah, and all the development.
It's going to be phenomenal. But I would agree with Jamie. In these seats, really the best thing about these organizations, it is the people. And again, at the end of the day, we get a lot of cool opportunities to do some fun stuff as managers. But there's no substitute for the guy who's picking up the trash, the police officer that shows up when you dial 911. Those are the guys cutting the grass. They are what make this community thrive. And if it weren't for those people, my goal has been to try to create this culture to where we've got a place that people want to come work and they feel important. Our city commission has been very supportive of the city employees, and to Jamie's point, you got to stay competitive. It's easy to go work a private sector job and probably make a lot more money. Sometimes it's a calling to want to be in public service, and so I'm proud of the fact that we've got a very good team in place.
Spoken like Rob Lowe as Chris Traeger.
That's what I was trying to
on
channel.
the classic sitcom Parks and Rec.
The ultimate compliment.
Any final thoughts here as we wrap up? You want to make sure folks know to be aware of coming up, or business as usual.
What are we doing tonight?
Well, our part-time side jobs start tonight for about the next 6 to 8 weeks, and our special purpose local ops and sales tax committee has a meet and greet tonight, and they kind of get to know each other. We take a week off, and we actually are at our commissioners conference next week on Thursday. So we take a week off and then come back May the 4th, hit the ground running with 50-plus presentations and trying to squeeze in $200 million worth of requests and somewhere between $80 and $85 million worth of money, assuming the public likes the package and they approve it, and we certainly hope they do, and we're going to work really hard to try to put a good package together. So that's kind of – 5:30 tonight. Come out and join us if you want.
Just to bookend that, so what we're talking about is the referendum will be this November, and so if this citizen-led SPLOST committee agrees, then if you're a listener out there, maybe you have a chance to get involved, get engaged, see what these projects are and how you feel about them and what they might bring to the community.
Because all you can do is all you can do with the resources you have.
That's
right.
Amen.
We would be a lot different without SPLOST, no doubt. $300 million in the last 35, 40 years.
No doubt.
Interesting. You mentioned the app. You want to give the app again?
Yes, the My Rome app. And so if you go to the App Store, you're able to download, and it really is the simplest thing ever. And even I can do it. So there's the testimony.
And if you live in the county, we're going to give Jamie's cell number right now. You can call him.
That's 1-800
FloydCountyGA.gov. And I'm changing my number this afternoon.
Yeah, I was going to say website for the city?
RomeGA.us.
Okay, and you just did the website for the county.
That's right.
County, and no cell phone numbers.
No cell phones. I've got 4 calls during this podcast.
Oh, that's great.
Sammy's afraid to look.
I don't want to know. Yeah. I'm just going to compartmentalize that.
And Pam from the chamber, anything coming up you want to make sure we get mentioned, or just contact information?
Kind of topical for today.
Tilt your mic up there a little bit there, Pam.
It fell. It fell. I'm so sorry. Thank you. Kind of topical that we're spending time with Jamie and Sammy today because next week we have a very special presentation from FEMA. And so I know it sounds a little depressing, but what it is a presentation to make sure our businesses are prepared for a natural disaster. We watched our friends in Somerville have several issues last year, and that's what prompted this presentation. So our businesses can be prepared up front. I have invited all their folks, even though it is business specific, but I've invited Jamie and Sammy's folks to come. But a special this is actually a brand new presentation they've never done for a Chamber of Commerce before. So I know these guys think I'm crazy and probably hate me at this point.
No, it's a good thing.
It's a great idea.
It is.
It's a special presentation that they have put together just for private business. And I think it's going to be great. They're actually going to go through all the, options of what natural disasters can come through here. But then after that, they're going to tell businesses what to do to be prepared and how they get their money from the government when natural disasters happen.
And that information will be on the chamber website?
Yes, sir. RomeGA.com. The meeting is April 25th at 9 a.m.
And we have to be prepared as well we have a joint plan where I'll use tornado since that's kind of the season to put debris, whether it's trees or homes or whatever, and be able to start functioning and allow business to get back underway. So we're all included in that, and that's a good invite for us to be there.
Well, thank y'all both for being here. This has been very interesting.
Thank y'all.
I know we didn't hit you with any. I tell people it's a conversation. It's not an interview, so it's not my job to hit you with hard-hitting journalism questions.
We get plenty of those.
So
Plenty of those.
the gotcha questions. We wanted to use it to inform and entertain. And I know you're very busy, so I do appreciate it. This has been great. Thank you so much. You've been listening to the Rome Floyd Chamber Spotlight podcast. This is Rome Business Radio. We broadcast from the Hardy Realty Studios downtown on Broad Street in Rome, Georgia. Thank you so much for listening.